Hello and welcome to VHawks Podcast. I'm Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by Matt. And I know it's a little early to be, singing a Christmas song, but I feel one coming on. It's the most chaotic time of the week. Yes, that's right. You heard me correctly. It is that time of the week. It's predictions time, baby. We have no confidence in this. So much so that you may be wondering. There's a title on the screen that says the Great Coin Flip Experiment. Is it truly what we think it is? It absolutely is. I'm running a second account on the Pick'em League specifically for week 8. It could continue if the coin does well. But basically, I will be making the same picks as Matt for our main league so that our record stays the same because, as most of you know, I am out of town and have had no time to check on who's injured and all of those things going on in the NFL right now. So if I were to make picks right now, they would be completely uneducated guesses, and I would not feel confident about that at all. So we have decided that I will copy Matt's picks for our league, for our main accounts, and on the second account, I have already flipped a coin. Heads is the home team, tails is the away team. I flipped it for all the games. We have the results for the coin, and I even did a random number generator, 1 to 70, for the amount of points scored in the Raiders Lions game for the tiebreaker. So we are ready fully to embrace the chaos, as is true with fire unattended, like it is here in this picture. Alrighty. Starting off, we're going to have Matt lead this week. As I said before, I have no knowledge pretty much of who's injured and who's not. So he can start. I will pretty much only have knowledge of what happened last week and what's happened throughout the year. But with that, I'll kick it over to Matt to walk us through some of the picks.
So especially with this being us recording on a Tuesday night, a lot of the injury stuff is still up in the air right now. So there might be players that get put on later in the week, might get off later in the week. So for me, injuries, everybody's injured. So kind of what you're going to do about it. But for the first game, Buffalo had a really bad day last Sunday, especially against the Patriots, where they made them look like they had a competent offense. Um, I just see the Bills maybe having a bounce back game. Yeah, Tampa Bay's played pretty well during the year, but I feel like in the past week or so, they've started coming back down to earth. They had so many opportunities to win that Falcons game, and they just couldn't do anything with it. So I see Buffalo having a bounce back game, especially on a Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, I like what the Bills have done overall. I mean, they've lost some games they shouldn't have, but they've been in division with the Jets and the Patriots. Um, so I mean, you have things like that going on where you're kind of confused as why the Bills are losing those games, especially with the Jets game at the beginning and finally giving the Patriots a competent offense. Tampa Bay close game in also in division against the Falcons. Both teams just made a lot of mistakes and really couldn't get it done in the red zone. So, 3-point loss to Atlanta. Their quality of opponents, though, not the, I wouldn't say this is the strongest. Um, Bills though also didn't look good against their win against the Giants. So overall, this is a tough game for me. So I'm glad that the coin has also picked the Bills because that makes me feel better about your pick for the Bills because that will become my pick.
So the coin.
The coin picked the Bills.
Okay. So on to the next game. Dallas, Los Angeles. Los Angeles lost to the Steelers out of all teams. Did not see that one coming. Matthew Stafford has been up and down. That offense has looked good having both the rookie wide receiver and um, Cup back, but hasn't really been as successful as we might have thought. Um, Dallas coming off a bye week, I just feel like they're going to be. Now, this could totally turn out to be false, and Dallas is totally not prepared, which, where have we heard this one before? But I have Dallas winning. I just feel like at home, having a bye week, just even if they're not prepared, just having more rest. And Los Angeles after having a tough loss on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Both of these teams are kind of on the bubble for me as far as like, do I believe they're contenders or pretenders? I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are going to be contenders because they'll win, you know, the games they need to make the playoffs. Will they do anything in the playoffs is the question. I believe the answer is no. The Rams, though, are one of those teams that I believe could sneak in there and could potentially do damage if they do sneak in. So, different situations here. When you're thinking about it, like I'm thinking Cowboys have a higher probability of making the playoff, but if the Rams get in, I would be more worried about them than I would the Cowboys. So very interesting here. And, you know, I would say the quality of opponents that the Rams have lost to has been better than the quality of the opponents the Cowboys have lost to. Looking at you, Cardinals. Um, so, part of me, you know, I, I'm honestly not knowing any injury or trades or anything that's been going on this week. I feel actually pretty good with the coin flip going on because I don't feel like I'd be confident in a lot of these games. So, uh, but I believe Cowboys at home, they do have an edge there, and their defense is starting to figure out what to do without Trayvon Diggs. They've had a bye week to get healthy. So, maybe they figured things out on offense as well. So I would agree that the Cowboys will be my pick if I was picking. Um, However, the coin, if you watch the last video, we had technical difficulties when Matt decided to say some things about a certain team that resides where I currently am. So it is for that reason that I will not say the team that will win this week. But let's just say it's the away team, and you can see on the screen which one's the away team. And hopefully that doesn't get me knocked at the door by anybody here. Oh crap.
Okay, so we'll leave the our teams to the end like usual, but on to the next game. The battle of the teams that who knows what you're getting any week. Now I could say that's the whole NFL right now, but especially with these two teams, because good lord, Tennessee can be a Super Bowl winning team one week and then just an XFL team the next week. And Atlanta, they can play great one week. Desmond Ritter has three fumbles the next week, but they
Mm-hmm.
somehow still win, aka last Sunday. So I I have Atlanta winning just because I feel I trust the offensive weapons more. And they came off I wouldn't say great win, but a momentum building win on Sunday against the Bucks. So this is just me thinking that momentum will drive them forward into this game and then beat Tennessee, especially since who knows what's going on with Ryan Tannehill right now.
Right. Yeah, you brought up some great points. Tennessee without Tannehill is not good. Uh Even with him, they're average, but as you said, sometimes can look like Super Bowl caliber team. But with Willis, uh, question marks there. But now they've had 2 weeks to prepare. They were on a bye week. They're coming back home. Maybe things will change. But the thing I like about and the thing about I like about them is that they're well coached by Mike Vrabel. They're typically a very resilient team, but hard to be resilient when you don't have a good quarterback or even one that is capable of throwing the ball like to a receiver. So, um, very tough there. The Falcons, I like their creativity both on offense and defense. I feel like I've seen a lot of play calls that I haven't seen before on both sides of the ball from the Falcons. I like how they're utilizing different pieces. We mentioned last video that they're using Kyle Pitts actually, like finally, as we've been waiting for past couple of years for him to get used. Drake London is finally finding a rhythm. Uh, Bijan was hurt, but hopefully he'll be back this week, so we can see some great running back play from the Falcons. Uh, but they've got weapons, and I would have to agree with you. If I was picking, the Falcons would win that game, but the coin disagrees. The coin thinks that either the Falcons will just stink it up so bad the Titans are going to win it, or the Titans are going to be a Super Bowl caliber team this week, or at least better than the Falcons.
This could go either way, so I'm not really surprised about a coin, even though it's just a coin flip. It has no info on this. Um,
This is true. To my knowledge, the coin is uninformed. However, I have not talked to the coin because I'm not crazy. So
that Dallas Cowboy. I don't even know how to say that, but whatever.
hey, what did I,
Um,
dude? Don't get more knocks at my door again, man. Do you want us to have to do this twice?
but on to the next game with New Orleans, Indianapolis. This is just turning into the week of I don't know what the heck to think. Um, Indianapolis played really well until the refs kind of screwed him over on that last drive against Cleveland, especially against that defense, which Gardner Minshew doing well against that defense is saying something, especially. Um, New Orleans, the Derek Carr signing has not done what they had hoped. Um, what they thought would fix that offense has just not come true. They had a bad loss last Thursday um, against the Jaguars, and I don't see them getting back in the right column this week. I just feel like Indianapolis, even though they did lose last Sunday, um, that offense is doing well. Defense is okay. They played against a better defense. I wouldn't go all the way to say a better team, especially the quarterback position. um, but I just feel like Indianapolis, they both lost. I just feel like Indianapolis had more momentum to come out of that game, to come into this game, to move forward with. So,
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, they're both 3-4 teams, but the Colts have done a lot more to impress me, even with the amount that Gardner Minshew has played, than the Saints have arguably all year.
yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons why I believe the Colts will win this game. I mean, you look at their game against the Browns. Again, the Browns arguably a top 5 defense. I mean, didn't show up on the scoreboard last week, but they really do cause problems all over the place, and they finally got takeaways last week. So that was their only weak point in their defense. They brought a graphic up during the game that they're first in pretty much every statistical category on defense, yet they're 30th or something in takeaways. And then they proceeded to get, I believe, 2 or 3 last week. So they might be starting to catch up there. And so if they can start adding takeaways to those other statistical categories, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But we're not talking about the Browns. We're talking about the Colts. And that 1-2 punch with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, that's scary. Like you're not seeing too much drop off when Jonathan Taylor comes out. You're seeing a completely different game. You're seeing a shifty guy who can catch passes and run around, and then you can go back to the power running back in Jonathan Taylor to get you those gotta have it yards. And that ground game is tough. And then Gardner Minshew, veteran backup quarterback, now starter, knows how to find the open tight ends and the open receivers. So getting everybody involved is a big part of it. Derek Carr is still learning how to do that on the Saints. Like Michael Thomas was just found last week for a touchdown. Before that, I believe it's been kind of here or there, if at all. So trying to get all their weapons involved as well. He got Taysom Hill involved last week. Before that, I don't think they did it much. So Saints are still trying to figure it out, I think. So I'd say the Colts will win this game. Funny enough, the so far the voting on this is exactly 50-50,
Yeah.
which is funny because the coin flip is supposed to be a 50-50 chance as well. And the coin agrees that the Colts will win. So that is a good feeling. All right, moving on. We have the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots finding an offense last week against the Bills, getting a win that nobody expected. They had been arguably one of the worst teams in the league until last week. I think they're still bad. I think we could all agree on that, but I think they were able to take one against a division opponent. Bill Belichick got his 300th career win. So great things to see there for his coaching career. And the Dolphins coming off a loss to the Eagles, which again, playing Philly and Philly never ends well, usually. Their offense got stymied. So, they'll look to bounce back against the New England Patriots team here. Again, I'm not really too informed on the injuries and trades, so I'll let Matt talk it up here. But if I had to pick a winner here, I would say the Dolphins should win this game at home.
Okay, so with this game, I haven't really heard the only real trade that I've heard that has been like I would say game changing has really been to nobody's surprise, Philly ripping off Tennessee again.
Yep, for Bayard. I
Yeah, for
saw
the
that.
safety. Other than that, I haven't heard anything yet. The trade deadline is until next Tuesday. I think a lot of teams are going to see how this Sunday goes and then go from there. Especially right now, quick to the side, real quick about trades. I don't think, other than like the Broncos, because I know everybody's been asking about Jerry Jeudy and some others, there's not a lot of teams that are selling right now. Because, like, we thought Houston would be going for the future. They're trying to win. Um, Carolina, I don't know any pieces other than Brian Burns that they could sell. Um,
Jeremy Chin.
yeah, New York, yeah, they could, but I haven't really heard them wanting to sell. And it's basically everyone's trying to win right now. So I don't know who would really sell unless somebody goes in with a huge like offering for somebody. I don't see now you're gonna have those like fifth, sixth, seventh round picks that are swapped for some rotation guys, some just for the depth chart, just to get depth at a position that injuries might have depleted on a roster.
Yeah.
But I don't see that many big names because, like, the past few years, we've seen some big names get tossed around the league at the trade deadline. I just don't see that happening as much this year. But
The
moving
only thing I
back,
could see is two like powerhouse teams like the Eagles and somebody else trade, get a D lineman from the Eagles for whatever position the Eagles would want, or something of that nature, where they trade two good players back and forth, or something of that nature, or maybe a team is looking to compete and they just want one of Philly's edge rushers or defensive interior, and they just give up a good pick for him because Philly's got those in spades. So I could see something like that happen. But knowing Philly, they'll get a second round pick for a second string nose tackle or something like that. Uh, so we'll see how that all shakes out. But yeah, I agree for the most part. I don't expect to see many big names, but perhaps we'll be shocked, and perhaps this week could change things as far as how teams are looking at the year going.
but yeah, going back to the picks, just had that to say that I hadn't thought about talking about earlier. For next week's video, we should be because usually the deadline's what 3 or 4 o'clock East EST.
I believe so.
So we would know by the end of the day all the trades. Um, So we'll see what happens then. But back to the games. Um, Miami, New England. Yeah, New England beat Buffalo and Miami lost, but I don't see that really being a factor in this game. Um, I just feel like Miami's the better team. They were playing a tougher opponent. I don't think we really have much trust in Buffalo as of right now, um, other than this week against Tampa Bay, because once you compare like them against lesser teams, they are the better team. But I see Miami having a bounce back game. They're at home against a far worse team than they were playing Sunday night. So I see them having a good bounce back game this week.
Well, the coin has the New England Patriots sweeping the AFC East, which is ironic because if they do that, all their wins will be against the AFC East. So all their wins have been against the AFC East. Will they continue that streak? I hope not. But
Did New England not beat? Oh, and never mind. Vegas
Vegas,
beat New England, right?
yes.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Um,
Vegas destroyed them from what I can remember.
who knows about Vegas at this point? But moving on. I know it says the Battle of New York on the screen, but it's really New Jersey. Let's not kid ourselves. Um, have not heard anything about what's his name? Daniel
Dan-
Jones being back yet this week. So this is me thinking it's still going to be Tyrod Taylor. Um,
that Jets
yeah,
defense.
it's two teams that have been up and down. There's some like New York kept Buffalo really close, and then they beat Washington. The Jets, we saw them get completely blown out against um, the Cowboys, and then beat the Eagles. Um, they had a bye week this week, so I feel like that's going to be a part of it where the Jets are more well rested. I see Salah as a better coach than what's his name for the Giants,
Dayball.
Debo. Um, I just see this. Even if you want to say Tyrod Taylor is the better quarterback against Zach Wilson, I just see the Jets defense has had 2 weeks or at least a week of rest. Um, so I see them basically putting a stop to Tyrod Taylor this week and give the offense enough opportunities to come out with something. So I have the Jets winning this one.
Glad you finally seeing my side of it where the quarterback isn't everything and sometimes isn't even most things. But it is a team sport and a championship caliber defense can really change the tide. That's what the Jets have. Assuming everybody is healthy, which again just came off a bye, so you should be getting players back. Zach Wilson has been improving. He's looked good recently. Um, so I mean, I think as he has those weapons and gets used to them and continues to grow, and has Aaron Rodgers coaching him on the sidelines, he's made some. He's been able to call with 12 players on the field, just like Aaron Rodgers used to do all the time. So uh, he's definitely learning from Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's definitely helping him. So I would have to pick with the Jets as well as they seem to have their offense. They're figuring it out better, and their defense is already has come to play pretty much every game. Unfortunately, the coin doesn't see it that way. The coin sees the Giants pulling out the win here. So moving on, we have what should be an interesting AFC game that could have potential impacts in the standings in the playoffs if both of these teams continue on the trend they are. We have the 5-2 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to take on the 4-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jaguars, again, like I said, keeping their winning streak alive back in the States. 2 games overseas in London and taking it back, keeping up the wins. And the Steelers, surprising road win against the Rams. Defense stepping up. Offense actually looks present, I'll say. Um, I didn't I mean, granted, I haven't been much into the NFL news, like I've said, but I haven't heard as many fire Matt Canada stuff as I'm used to hearing every
Yeah,
week.
it's still out there. Don't worry.
It's still out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's just quieted a little bit as far as like it's not as blatant, but I could be wrong. Personally, I think the Jaguars are the better team, but the Steelers just have that it factor as far as their defense goes. And Kenny Pickett has those moments where he just decides to call an audible and throw a 60-yard touchdown pass. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised with this one either, but I would have to go with Jacksonville based off of trends and how they've been playing. But I think the Steelers they could take it, but I'll go with the Jaguars for this one if that's what you're going with.
Yeah, I'm going with the Jaguars. They have a little bit extra rest after their Thursday night game. Um, I just feel like the Steelers defense was able to put a number on Matthew Stafford, especially in the second half. But I have Jacksonville winning this one. Might be close in the first half, and then they pull away after some Steelers mistakes in the second half. But yeah, going on, going to go a little bit out of order here real quick.
For the record, the coin picked the Steelers.
Okay. Going to go a little bit out of order here real quick, but I think I'll let you say what the coin says, and if you have any thoughts, I'll let you say this afterwards. But the Philly Washington game, Houston Carolina game, and Baltimore Arizona game, I have the road team winning all three of those. It's just the road team going to a lesser opponent. I don't see any issues with those teams. Yeah, Arizona looked decent, but Baltimore looked even better. Um, Washington lost to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough there. Carolina's 0-6. Houston, I think, did Houston and Carolina both come off buys?
I believe so. Yes.
So rest isn't an issue, and I just see Houston as the better team. So I'll let you say what you want to say for those.
All right. Well, with that being said, I agree. The Philadelphia Eagles are the far and away better team than the Commanders. The Commanders need a streak to happen with the opponent in order to take a win like that. The Eagles just came off of one win. That is not a streak. However, apparently 3 to 4 is. So we'll keep that in mind for our future picks. The coin agrees. Philadelphia will win, according to the coin. In the Texans Panthers matchup, I agree with you. The Texans have looked better. I mean, not just because of their wins, but from the play of CJ Stroud, to the play of that entire team being a lot better than everybody thought they would be. The Panthers, I thought they would have one win by now, at least, but still
Did not
winless.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, beginning of the season, I'm talking. So, because I mean, no, they've played some teams that aren't that good. So, but anyway, the coin has them getting their first win. So, very interesting there. I don't think that's going to happen because the Texans should not lose that game. But maybe there's some history we're not talking about. So we're glossing over the Chiefs game, or was that one of the road games you said as well?
I'm getting to that one in a second. Go to the Baltimore game.
All right, the Baltimore Cardinals game. Baltimore, arguably the most impressive in a dominant fashion last week. The most impressive team win last week in terms of just sheer dominance was the Ravens against the Detroit Lions. People thought, and people, including myself, thought that the Lions were the team to beat, and the Ravens knocked them off quite heavily. But unfortunately, the coin is picking Arizona to be that chippy team, to unseat the team that it seems like we said, every week a new team rises up and seems like they're the team to beat, and then somebody knocks them down that is usually not that good. and the coin seems to have it be the Ravens. Um, so yeah, but I don't see a world in which the Ravens lose this game unless they get injured. So
Okay, going back to the Kansas City Denver one real quick because I'm gonna make this short. So last week I made Denver my pick against Green Bay just for the chaos. I had no reasons for it, just chaos. Why not? Denver, Kansas City just played 2 weeks ago on the Thursday night game. It was close. Um, both teams won. One team a lot more impressively than the other. But for the chaos, we're going with Denver again.
well, I mean, hey, that would be a great one for me to win one back on you, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna copy your picks like we said at the beginning of the video. The coin is gonna go against you though. The coin is gonna pick the Chiefs. So keep that in mind. If the coin gets all the games right, I don't know what we're gonna do at this point.
Oh, if the coin gets majority of the games right, we're screwed because our record's going to be in the toilet.
Oh yeah. I mean, luckily the beginning weeks we built ourselves a good buffer, so we still got some games before we actually get 500 or below.
But specifically for this week's record, if the coin is above 500, we're screwed.
Absolutely.
Um, but going on to the Bengals 49ers game, majority of the people have the 49ers winning. Um, Bengals just came off a bye week, and now the 49ers just came off a Monday night football appearance. Um, I have the Bengals winning. I just feel like Brock Purdy just got made. He's defeatable now, is what I meant to say. And it's not just crappy weather where they miss a field goal to win, and it's not Brock Purdy's fault. We saw
To be
Monday
fair, they
night.
also missed a field goal against us, but we also missed one against them.
Well, that wasn't to win the game though.
Correct.
This was Brock Purdy could not live up to the moment. Um, Tyler, I'm sorry, but I think you agree with me. Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than um, Kirk Cousins.
Oh my goodness, how could you say such things? Kirk Cousins is the best court. No, I'm surprised there's no knock on my door since he used to be a Redskin. Um, but yeah, no, absolutely no problem there.
And they also have their number one wide receiver, even though Jordan Addison did have a really good game. Now, just imagine that's the Bengals wide receiver group. And now, as I said earlier, this is a Tuesday night. We still don't know where all the injuries are going to line up. Um, Basically, nothing except if you're on IR or completely out for the next few weeks. We have no clue who's going to be available on Sunday, who's not. Um, but near the end of that game, San Francisco's defensive injuries were starting to pile up. I know Fred Warner was one of them, and there was a couple others that I saw go out. Um, I don't know if they came back to finish that game, but
I
they
believe
were
they.
they were getting banged up though. Um, and Cincinnati had a week of rest. San Fran has to turn right back around after a road Monday night game. Yes, they're playing at home, luckily for them, but I have the Bengals coming back out of a bye week, prepared to go on a run for the rest of the year. Um, I believe we both picked Baltimore to win the division, but I don't think the Bengals are going to just lay down and die. So I
Yeah, no,
have
I mean,
the Bengals winning
like
this
we
one.
said, like we said in our video that'll come out before this one. You know, the Bengals are going to pick up some wins out of division. I think they're going to struggle in division personally. Um, but
Unless
I
it's
mean,
the unless it's Cleveland again if they still have PJ Walker, but who knows?
true, but that defense though, I don't I'm not counting out Cleveland, man. I don't know. I just that team's chippy. I mean, I say that about the Cardinals too, but in a different way. Like the Cardinals are like they'll make games close that really shouldn't be close because they don't have a roster to to do that. But the Cleveland Browns have the roster to back up the chippiness.
The
So
Cardinals are the Texans and Colts of last year.
correct.
But
I don't know what the Browns are of last year, to be honest. But I just see them as a chippy team that actually has a roster. That is the reason why they're chippy.
and
Um,
I'm not counting them out. It's just I feel like once we're getting to those final weeks, you need a quarterback, and especially with Deshaun Watson, who knows
right.
what's happening with him. Apparently, what was it, a like what rotator?
Yeah, I mean, he was standing on the sideline the whole game. Kevin Stefanski just didn't want to do anything with him because he
No,
was just, we want to protect our franchise quarterback. I think he's going to be fine, but I think they're going to take some precautions with him and not rush him back. But from what I saw, it was nothing like he didn't need the cart. He didn't need anything serious. So,
it was
to
a
my
he had a concussion check and he had passed everything. But it
correct.
was like what was it against the 49ers where he was available to play, like he had been cleared medically and everything to play, and then like an hour before the game he just decided not to play. So
Right.
at some point you need him to play and him to play confidently where like especially this week he did not look good starting that game.
He didn't.
Like he
But
should
I
have
mean,
had two picks.
if he's got something lingering with him though that they're not willing that they just don't want to disclose, if your defense can win you the game as they've been doing, I say they're doing the right thing. What the Bengals should have done, rest their quarterback, let the defense try to pile. I mean, granted, the Bengals didn't have the defense to do
No.
what Cleveland can do right now, so it's. I see why the Bengals did what they did, and they got lucky because Joe Burrow's healthy, but um, but Cleveland has the defense to do what we thought the Bengals were going to do, and that's lose a couple games, get your quarterback healthy, and then drag him out there when you're in the final stretch trying to compete and everything.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, going back to the pick, you know, that Monday night game was awesome because the Vikings won, but it truly did not feel like it was a Monday night because again, Kirk had one of the best games of his career. If you were to put that Kirk Cousins against Joe Burrow, um, that'd be an interesting matchup. So I hope week 15 we get to see the best of Kirk Cousins go up against Joe Burrow because that will make for a very interesting game. But with this game, the 49ers are still a very physical team. The Bengals, I don't see them dominating on the lines of scrimmage. I think that will be important for this game. However, we did see Jordan Addison go off against the 49ers, and we do know that the Bengals have Jamar Chase along with Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins will probably come back at some point, but I don't think it's against the 49ers. Um, so that receiving core is going to be tough to deal with. But if I were to pick, I would pick the 49ers to win. But you picked the Bengals, right?
Yes.
So I will be picking the Bengals, which I'm not upset about. I don't think I think this game could go either way. But the coin agrees, so that makes me feel a little bit better about siding with you. So,
And now to speed things along because we don't want this video being too much longer.
yep.
Um, Chargers
Both
Lions.
both us and the coin pick Chargers and Lions. And there's really no explanation here. Sure, the Bears beat the Raiders in the battle of the backup QBs, but the Chargers are a great team who have just been unlucky, kind of like the Vikings, and haven't been able to get it together in crucial moments, which is Brandon Staley. And the Lions, they suffered a tough loss in Baltimore. It's not going to happen at home against the Raiders.
No.
So at least in our opinion and in the coin's opinion. So give us the Chargers and the Lions as well as for the coin. And also I did do a random number generator for the tiebreaker that they have on here, which is always the Monday night game. So the Raiders Lions game in this example. Um, the random number generator picked 40 as the final score. So this will truly be possibly an Illuminati moment if we come back and the coin won the majority of the games and they scored 40 or somewhere really close to it.
21-19.
That would be really, really interesting. Or the Lions just blow them out 40-0. That would be even weirder.
30 to
Uh,
10,
so,
28-12, just four
but
field goals.
those are our teams. Matt, you've got the picks. So,
Okay, I'm going to start off with my Seahawks first because you're going to be pissed off with me. I might leave the call once we get to Minnesota. Um, Seattle had a decent game against Arizona, frustrating at some points, and Cleveland barely pulled that off against pulled their game off against Indianapolis. I feel like going to Seattle, if Deshaun Watson's back again and again, I don't know where his headspace is going to be at, um, especially with how bad he started off that game. And I trust Geno Smith a little bit better than I do Gardner Minshew. And hopefully we'll have DK Metcalf back this week. But I just feel like I trust our roster a bit more than Indianapolis's, and Indianapolis almost pulled that game off. So it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be down to like the final few minutes that that game's decided. But I have Seattle coming out with this one.
I agree with pretty much everything you said, honestly. I just have to say that I have a weird feeling that the Browns are going to take this one.
I wouldn't be
Um,
surprised.
we'll see. I mean, I like to root for your Seahawks. I generally don't usually pick against them. Um, I mean, I just thought it would be funny if the Cardinals would beat you guys, but I didn't actually pick them. I didn't have any inkling that would tell me to pick them. Other than when DK went out, I thought about it for all of like 10 seconds and I was like, no, I'm good.
Luckily, you
Um,
didn't.
so yeah, exactly. But like I said, the Cleveland Browns, that defense is tough. And I know the Colts figure out a way to go about it, but the Colts have a two-punch run game. I mean, I know you guys have Charbonnet as well, but he's a little bit unproven, and he was just out last week. So I think the struggles might come on the downs that Kenneth Walker has to be on the sideline because he's just ripped off a run or he's just blocked or something of that nature. He's got to go get water. I really see that as a down where the Cleveland Browns defense is going to make a play. Uh, Looking at Myles Garrett having himself a game last week. Um, I would pick the Browns, but I will go in with you on the Seahawks. We made the agreement for the week, but and again, this could go either way as well. But I have a feeling the Browns might take this one, but hopefully they don't because again, I'm rooting for this podcast, and that means rooting for the Vikings and the Seahawks.
Well, this has made this next conversation very awkward.
Hey, dude, you have picking the Broncos in games that they shouldn't win. For Embrace the Chaos. Well, I have my pick the Packers in every game because Embrace the Chaos, but not really just because if I pick them, it's a win for me either way because they either lose or I get it right. So, um, I don't feel comfortable enough about the Packers to do anything about it. So, but
Well,
yeah, go ahead and give me your reasoning. Go ahead.
yeah. I just feel like Green Bay had a rough game last week. They're going back home. Minnesota coming off of an emotional Monday night win, going to be one extra day of rest that they do not have, and especially with a 1 o'clock game, got to get up early. Got to be ready earlier than say a 4:25 or Sunday night game. Just sometimes that hour or two, day or two of rest makes the difference sometimes, and um, you're without your top weapon. Um,
Can I interrupt real quick?
okay.
I think it's kind. I know where you're going with this because it's like the extra day hurts. Having to get up early at 1 o'clock instead of 4:25 or something like that. But I think it's funny because it almost sounds like you're saying Kirk flipped his entire Monday night narrative with with the game last night because you're saying he has to go back to playing in 1 o'clock, so he's gonna suck. It just had a funny ring to it the way you were you were talking about it. So I just wanted to say that was kind of funny. But go on.
But I just feel like Green Bay's had a few disappointing past few weeks. Um, I just see this as a Matt LaFleur. This is a must-win game for them to even keep themselves competitive, not in the conference, but just the division itself. Because yes, the Lions lost basically everybody but you, and the Bears won last week. That is what happened. But just trying to stay in that division and not even talking about the wild card yet. Um, they have to start getting some wins, and I just feel like this week is going to be they're going to be in desperation mode, especially with Jordan Love, who started the season out pretty well, especially against the Bears, and then the second half against the Saints. But since then, we really haven't seen much. Um, so I see them coming into this game as a must-win at Lambeau Field, which, let's be honest, Minnesota hasn't always played the best at Lambeau. Um, so I see Green Bay coming in desperate, probably playing a bit more aggressive than usual, and it's going to be a close game, but I just feel like Justin Jefferson's going to hurt you with being gone at some point, and I feel like this is going to be one of those games where he's desperately missed.
Yeah, I mean, again, this doesn't hurt me at all because, like I said, I pick the Packers every week, unless it would be completely foolhardy too. Like when they play the Niners, or I don't think they do. No, sorry. When they play the Chiefs, I'll pick the Chiefs. But pretty much every other game except for that, I pick the Packers because it's a win-win. So I'm very fortunate that you picked the Packers and we are doing the coin week. So that I don't have to worry about the picks here because this is oddly enough, it could be the recency of the 49ers, but honestly, watching the Packers against the Broncos has given me far less confidence in the Packers than I've ever had this year.
It was not a good game for either
Yeah,
side, and we knew that was with the Broncos, but
and they had some injuries as well, particularly in the secondary. So in my opinion, I actually think it could be open up. I mean, yeah, we don't have JJ, but if Savage isn't there and forgot who the other secondary guy was who got injured, but I
Jair,
think Jair got injured too.
I'm not sure. I just know he's been on and off the injury list. So,
Well, there were like two guys that got banged up in the Broncos game, and I think one was Savage and one was
oh yeah, I
some
forgot who the other one was,
some
but
other quarterback. But anyway, so if Jair misses, if Savage misses, and the other corner, like if their secondary is banged up, that's more opportunity for Jordan Addison to build on what he's got going on, and KJ Osborne, Brandon Powell, those guys would step up. Um, it could be interesting. So it's funny because I actually this would be one of the weeks I would pick the Vikings because I did say if they beat Chicago, I would pick them again in the future. So it won't be this week. But if they do win this week, I will have more confidence for picking throughout the future, which is good because we have arguably what would be the easier part of our schedule coming up in the few next games after the Packers. Because again, going on the road in Lambeau usually does not end well with us, except for the 2020 game, I think it was, when Dalvin Cook just said no and scored 4 touchdowns and got like 200 plus scrimmage yards. Maybe it was 300. So other than that, though, we have historically in the past like 5 years or so have not played well in Lambeau. So, and that usually is playing at the end of the year in January, maybe late December. Uh, so playing in October instead might be better and we might have a better chance. But I like going with the Packers because again, it's a win-win if no matter what happens. So I'll take that as well. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings actually win a game they're supposed to. So
Kirk Cousins is 1-2-1 at Lambeau Field.
yep. Oh, and see, to make him the average quarterback, he needs to win. Then he'll be exactly 500. 2-2-1, exactly 500.
But he's also 5-4-1 against Green Bay all time.
Hmm. Well, there's no way to make that even up though because there's two
Oh.
games. So unless they tie again,
Or he gets
but
hurt.
or he gets hurt. Yep.
But yeah.
So I don't know, but I mean, I've been on the argument that he's above average, so hopefully he just wins this game against in Lambeau and then ends with the 6-4-1 and then a 2-2-1 or sorry, 2-2-1 at Lambeau and then 6-4-1 against the Packers. So, but we'll see what happens. As we've said multiple times throughout this podcast, it's chaos and it's ever growing each and every week. There were a ton of surprises last week, so I'd like to say there's hardly any that would surprise me this week, but that would be a lie. So,
And I went 6-7 last week. You went what, 5-6?
4-9,
Or 5-8?
I think I went 4-9, my
Something
friend.
like that. This week we'll probably go like 4-12, just because why not?
Why not? Yeah. The real question for this week isn't necessarily who wins and who loses. It's does the coin get more right than us?
Which, if it's getting right, then it's basically upset city because most of the ones it picked against, oh God, if
Is it really upset city if you pick the Broncos to beat the Chiefs, though?
no, but I mean like who was it? What was it? Arizona to beat Baltimore,
Yeah.
and then there was another.
Panthers to beat the Texans,
Yeah, something like that.
Giants to
But,
beat the Jets,
yeah,
Patriots the Dolphins.
yeah.
So yeah, there's some interesting ones in here. So we'll see. We'll see what the coin has to say, the almighty coin. Um, but with that, that'll pretty much do it for our predictions video. As always, let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Let us know if there's anything we can do to spice things up. Do you want us to do the coin full time? Is there any other ideas you have for us to possibly generate random predictions to see how something random does? Let us know what you think. We'll be happy to take in any reasonable suggestions. Emphasis on the word reasonable, as we do both have full time either education or careers going on. So it is tough to balance, but within reason, we can surely find the time to include something that you guys suggest. So we'd be happy to hear that. But with that, we'll leave this chaotic video, this chaotic week behind us. I will continue to revel in the Vikings win against the 49ers on a Monday night throughout the rest of the week because that gives me happiness for so long. And Matt can sleep soundly at night knowing his Seahawks escaped an upset with the Cardinals and knowing his team has a great record. So
Also, you did not give me my credit for picking the Broncos.
Matt has balls. Then again, I don't really, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call this the biggest call because it is a division game, and that's usually when the any given Sunday things occur are division games. But still,
The Packers game?
when 97% of
The Packers game.
the division, yeah. What do you mean?
No, the Packers Broncos game. You didn't give me my credit for it.
Oh, I thought you meant for picking them
No.
against the Chiefs. Yeah, kudos for that. I honestly, like I said last week, that was one of the few times I felt confident picking the Packers because like I just do it every week, so it's a win-win. I just like to make sure I win every week with that, because it's good for my mental health. But I felt confident that they would beat the Broncos because the Broncos have been so bad. But the
And then you
Packers proved to
found
be
out
worse.
Green Bay's worse.
I couldn't have been happier with that outcome. So Um, I will always enjoy the Packers being bad. I know that's usually not good for rooting for anybody to be bad, but they just talk so much crap. And the whole Raymond
NFL
Moon thing, that Joe Buck was such a Packers lover. He was like, "Oh, what a disgusting display by Randy Moss." The fans do it to the players when they get to the stadium. So, and they actually moon them instead of just acting like you're mooning.
just a quick
Anyway,
comment before we end the video. Um, Jim Irsay came out saying the NFL admitted to two incorrect calls at the end of the Cleveland Browns game.
ref ball. Hey, did they say anything about the Chiefs games against the Jets and the Vikings? Or did Taylor Swift ban that?
No, it's Taylor Swift's calls. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's true.
You didn't see the earpiece?
I mean, dude, honestly, at this point, she came out earlier this week and said she hates Minnesota. So I'm not even kidding. That you can look it up. I don't know if it was hate Minnesota per se, but she basically said something along the lines of like that could be read as like I don't like Minnesota. So I think it was the state, not the Vikings per se, but still, it's kind of funny how that works. Um, and of course, she was in attendance at the Jets game, so interesting to look there. But yeah, when the NFL account says 2-0 is Swifties, um, you just you gotta wonder, and that's one thing I will have in common with Jets fans. We were screwed by the refs and by Taylor. Maybe she should write a song about us. Interesting.
Lord.
I guess that would be only if we beat them. So anyway, it's been a chaotic week. So with that, I am about to go get some sleep, as I'm sure Matt is about to as well. Um, you can always find us here at the YouTube channel. You can go ahead and drop some comments. As I said, we'll take any ideas y'all have. And with that, we're gonna see how this week unfolds. And because we're picking the same picks, you got to let me know, Matt, if you're changing any picks due to injuries, because I'm going to be going fully based off of you. So, uh, if you happen to change any of your picks, you got to let me know so we stay even.
About to just change half of them and then rush ahead.
Yeah, that would be what we call not fair. Um, and would lead to immediate disqualification in my opinion from our records on the podcast. So, but anyway, just let me know, but we'll stay updated on that. He's gonna read me all his picks again to make sure I got him after the podcast, so we'll be straight there. And then let us know if you guys want to see a reaction video. We might post something shorter about that. When it gets closer to week 9, week 10, maybe somewhere in the middle there, that we might want to start streaming a game or something along those lines where we have a live reaction to some type of game, something like that, where you guys can get on, send some chats in there, get some community going, and also just you guys can hear us talk and react in real time. I think it gives a definite better side of us, more emotional, more in the moment, more awake, honestly, because we're pretty tired when we do the podcast. So
And then we
uh,
actually know what we're talking about compared to
exactly,
our predictions.
yeah, we'll be commenting on what we're seeing and what we expect to see. So it would definitely be something we're definitely looking into trying to do it. So we would just want to get your guys' opinions on if you guys would be down to watch the stream, and what games you guys would potentially see coming up in the next couple of weeks or so that you would want us to stream. Regardless of that, though, we might be looking at doing one when it comes playoff time, especially if either of our teams make it. So definitely be on the lookout for that. but that's not for a while. So other than that, man, I think we're good.
It's good.
So
Peace.
peace.